everyone, and good morning. Welcome to the Candy and Doug morning show.
Yeah, good morning.
In this video, we're going to talk about love, acceptance, unconditional love, parenting, neutral, just taking on a neutral stance, how I've become a better mom since a regenerative detoxification lifestyle. It's easy to love, and as far as acceptance, I feel like that is the second stage of this journey for me, and because it took me a while to see past what maybe choices someone was making with food after I had learned the difference or whatever, right? And I was ready for that to come because, you know, I might see a child with a donut or a Gatorade bottle or something, and that's all I saw, you know, and I just thought, oh, you know, maybe what we think as a treat is a skewed perception. I know mine was. You know, I used to think, oh, it's okay, just a little bit, or every now and then, or it's a treat. And really, when these things are toxic to the body, every now and then doesn't make it okay or healthy or not unhealthy. It's still toxic. And so then to talk about unconditional love quite a bit, I know sometimes parents can, it seems like several of us do get the same responses from our loved ones. And a lot of times maybe it's because of this parenting role, because they feel like they should, I don't know. I look at it as, and maybe
It's a persona. I mean, there's not much else to say besides it is a role. It is a persona. It is a false aspect of themselves. They're literally, it's the same as, going to some play and watching some actor up on stage pretending to be somebody else. And so that's kind of what's going on with the parenting role.
right, you know, and setting conditions on, you know, I'll love you or come see me if this, you know, that can be a tricky situation. I have always thought, you know, I want my boys to just want to come see me anytime they want to. And I feel like me and my oldest have a strong relationship in that area. And I don't want to make him feel not welcome because of any choice he might make, because of how he wears his hair, to the clothes he wears, to maybe how he treats his vehicle. That gets in the way of love. Just love your kids.
Definitely.
Love them. And I think they'll, you know, I don't know. It's tricky, really. I mean, I have a lot to say, and you know, I will say this. Doing these videos has been one of the toughest parts for me. I want to share, and Doug knows. He was with me last year, and we made several videos, and I just didn't want to post them, you know. I was critiquing myself, and it was really a challenge for me, I guess you could say. But I also look at it like this. It was weak parathyroid too, and I'm working on that, and it's getting better, and I can see, because down in the root of me, it's not about because what somebody might say about me. Oh no, because I could give one iota. And I give thanks to my father for that, because of how he built me up, you could say, or how he would coach me if I had a situation at school. Now, when I was coming up, we didn't use this word bullying. I would just tell my dad about an incident that I would have at school. Somebody was picking on me. There was one kid who called me toothpick. I've always been thin, and I would call him something else. But, and my dad would say, or I would ask my daddy, how does this look? Or, I'd have on something, or even if it was wrinkly, he would say, oh, don't worry about it. They'll fall out. Or he would say, you'll look as good as any of the rest of them. And that was okay for me. That worked. I was like, yeah. Or I would say something about so-and-so did this or said this, and or has this, and I want that. And he'd say, or, so-and-so just got this. And he'd say, so what? Or I would tell him about what somebody said about me, and he'd say, who cares? Let it roll off your back, Candy. He would just always say that, let it roll off your back. And I feel like my dad was the best dad for me. He was kind of stern, but we had a great bond. And then he and my parents, boy, when they team up, there's, I can't say nothing about either one of them. So anyway, that's a little bit about my story and how I grew up and the parenting that I saw. What about you, Doug? What can you share?
So I'll start by saying love is a vibration. An easy way to put it is I accept that person where they're at, no matter what they're doing, no matter who they are, and just literally accept them for who they are, and just try to connect with them where they're at. So basically it all starts with loving ourselves. We can't love another person until we have it within our own selves. It's an internal vibration that we're projecting outward. And so when we have it within, we have it without. And on that note, we're all reflections of Source. And I understand we have different avatars or different vessels or different bodies per se, but we are essentially all an essence of God. We express ourselves differently, and we may live different lifestyles, but we all come from the same source. We are all the same essence. And so, for example, when we're judging another person, we're only judging ourselves. That's pretty common. Most of you guys have probably heard that before, but that's where it comes from, is we are literally all the same essence of God. So say if we're going down the street and we're like, oh, that person is this or that, that thought could have only manifested from within our own being. And so when we judge another person, that is really us just seeing a part of ourselves in another human being that we do not accept, that we're not comfortable with. And it is only when we accept everyone and everything where it's at, it's only when we accept the reality of what's going on and totally drop all the labels, can we really accept somebody and unconditionally love them.
So when I look at you, I'm looking at God. I'm looking at a part of God. It's like you have an apple.
Mm-hmm.
You take a bite out of that apple. Is it still an apple?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it's a part of that apple.
Definitely. And here's a beautiful aspect of it too. I know, like, for so much of my life I was caught up in the projected judgments and not realizing that those are just lessons that we can learn for ourselves. When we see something in someone else and we have a thought come in like, oh, this person is this or that, and that's wrong or that's bad, that is literally just us recognizing that aspect in our own selves. And so we can use different people or, animals. We can literally use anything to learn ourselves and basically create a higher vibration within ourselves and let go of false belief systems. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, and it's pretty cool how, getting started on this journey has heightened all of those things for me. And what I see is if everyone would just work on themselves, then we would all be better.
Yep.
And that's all it takes, instead of, they're focusing on this group, or you're focusing on somebody's starting this group for this certain. Well, just everybody work on themselves, and then we're all a better place.
Yep. The solution is within. And when we see something in someone else that we don't like, let's reflect on our own self and see if that aspect is still within us. And it gives us a chance to recognize that and to let go of it. We're all teachers, we're all students, it's the same thing. And we can learn from each other and we can grow from each other, or we can go the opposite direction. So that in itself is a choice as well. So if we're focusing on the solution, which is ourselves, the problems, which aren't even problems, are just going to dissipate. They're going to be no mo. And on that note, excuse me guys, the root of suffering, the fundamental cause of suffering is, not being in the present moment, so projecting ourselves in both the future and the past, but not accepting what is. When we can't accept the reality of it, we're suffering. And so it's just as simple as accepting people for where they're at, accepting the reality of the situation. And once we accept the reality of the situation, we can move forward and then we can grow. And so say you're living, with somebody and you don't accept them, or you don't resonate with their lifestyle. It's not a bad thing. Like it's totally cool to move out of that situation, but at the same time, not to force your own ideas and force your own belief systems and create tension in the way of separating yourself from that person, or thinking you're above them or below them or better than them. That's not really doing anything for either party. That's only building karma, in ourselves. And so when we're able to basically recognize what we need for ourselves, so it's like, remove yourself if you feel a situation or an environment's toxic for you, but it doesn't mean we need to put other people down or try to force them into changing their lifestyle. So that just kind of falls back on focusing on ourselves.
Yes, and I'll say, for parents with a child still living at home, that they are making diet changes, just love them where they are. Come on, is this really about food? Are we having a disagreement, or why is it even an issue? You don't give them 6 months to move out or something, or do, it doesn't matter, whatever. I'm just saying, don't let that get in the way. Just love, or try this, just be neutral, and because is there right from wrong? I know that my mom and dad wanted to teach me right from wrong, because they would say it often. That's what they would say. Well, or they would say, well, don't you know right from wrong? Or because I'm trying to teach you right from wrong, they would say. So, is it right or wrong to soak in a tub of chlorine for 2 hours? I don't know. Is it right or wrong to kill someone?
Yeah.
And also, is it right or wrong to treat someone in a negative way? That's negative energy.
I really enjoy using the terms complementary or uncomplimentary versus right or wrong. Like, does it resonate or does it not resonate? And that's kind of getting in touch with the intuition, or the sixth sense, which a lot of us are disconnected from or have forgotten.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole thing, that's perception. Right or wrong is perception. That's man-made. That's an idea that's been put in our head.
At how people get so defensive, maybe when someone's just making some changes for themselves. So what? Yeah.
And just on that note of suffering and lack of acceptance, there's also detachment as well. Detachment from expectations. When we have expectations that aren't fulfilled, and we have an attachment towards that expectation, that's also what creates suffering in our lives. And so for me, when I'm able to detach and just accept what's happening, accept what's going on, not saying not to change it if it's not working for you, not saying not to do anything about it. I'm doing more about what I want and what I'm called to do in my life now than I ever have. But at the same time, I'm also the most detached from expectations and the way I think things should be than I ever have. And it's so much less stressful, so much less anxiety, so much less suffering. Uh, just let go of what is not and accept what is, and suffering just dissipates.
Right, and meditation, I know for me, has raised my equanimity to where what you're saying basically is, it doesn't matter, or the things don't affect you.
Definitely, and life is meditation. Um, all these thoughts are what really got us into this mess in the first place. The mind creates matter, and when the mind is running and the mind is projecting itself into the future, or the mind is holding on to attachments or expectations from the past, then we're suffering, and we're going to be basically straying away from the path, just creating more lessons for ourselves to experience so we can remember who we are. I think that's probably the most complimentary way that I can put that. Is there anything else? Yeah.
I liked how you were talking about karma the other day.
Okay. Yep. So we have a soul contract before we come down into our physical vessel. So basically, we set up experiences or lessons depending on how much karma we've incurred. And so when we come down into our physical body, we have these lessons that we essentially set up for ourselves. And these lessons are essentially basically things we've forgotten about ourselves, aka karma. Karma, is also just an attachment to a false belief system. Karma is non-acceptance. And so when we're able to let go of what isn't serving us, let go of these false belief systems, like just things that keep us finite, like I am this or I am that, identifying with the lower self. Those are all just lessons that we have that we basically use to grow. So for example, we are presented with a lesson, and say if we don't work through it, or we don't learn the lesson, we don't relearn the lesson, we essentially present it to ourselves, or we could say the universe presents it in a greater magnitude. So the universe will keep presenting the same lesson over and over and over again in a greater magnitude till we remember it, essentially. And we may not even remember it in this lifetime, but that's essentially what karma is. They're just lessons that we put for ourselves to remember who we are, to basically remember that we're all just an essence of God. And karma can either be burned off or occurred from every moment, breath to breath. And so,
and it helped me hearing you say, like, say you're given an opportunity to not react.
Yes,
then you're not creating
karma. Yeah. So with the whole non-reaction piece, we're able to recognize these lessons, and we're able to learn from them and reflect on them when we don't react in certain situations. When we react, we're not in the present moment. We're basically riding an emotional roller coaster, or we're just totally operating from the lower self. But when we take a step back and we don't react, we can observe the situation and we can observe the thought streams, observe the mind, and go, oh my gosh, this has been occurring time and time and time again, and it's only getting louder. And so that just gives us a chance to really learn and grow, and let go of what's not serving us, because when we don't react to the mind eventually drops it, and we become free.
And I know a lot of people say, what would Jesus do? He wouldn't react. Probably.
Probably. No, he wouldn't. I mean, that's the thing. What is there to react to?
Right.
There's nothing.
Where's the problem? What problem?
Mm-hmm.
There is no problem.
There's really only a solution. And on that note, was there anything else you wanted to add? Maybe?
Not at all. That was really good.
Cool. Maybe let them know about the PDF you just released and how they can get a hold of it if they like.
Yeah,
and
very
also
excited
get a hold of you.
To share my first book. The title is A Beginning Guide to Regenerative Detoxification.
Cool. And I hope you can see this, guys. It's a little glare.
And there's a link
Yeah.
on the bottom down below. You can click on that to get your copy for just $4.99.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah, thanks for
walking.
watching.
Yeah,
We appreciate it.
totally.
I know I appreciate it.
You know, mostly
Thank
we talk about just the more informative side of this regenerative lifestyle, but the consciousness aspect is really where it's at. I mean, that's what it's all about. The food stuff and the detox is all just to free our minds and to remember who we are, an essence of God within and without. So peace, guys. Thank you for tuning in.